Hello, folks. You know, Glock put out the 19X in the FDE color. And then after a while, Glock recently made the Glock 45, which was in black. It's basically the same firearm as the 19X, but in black. Well, when the 19X came out, during that time with the military trials of the new handgun, FN came out with the FN 509 Tactical. But recently, FN did the same thing as Glock and came out with a black version. This is the FN 509T. They call it the T instead of tactical because they left out the word actical, the rest of the word actical on it, but it's affectionately known as the FN 509T. As you can see, instead of the FDE bag or tan bag, if you however you want to call it, it's in a black bag. And you're pretty familiar with these type of bags already. Here's the firearm. And of course, you all know that it does have 3 magazines. Let me move this out of the way here. And of course, you know that the 3 magazines, there are 2 24 rounders, and it comes standard with 1 17 rounder. Oh, correction. I'm sorry. It's 18 rounder. I'm thinking of Glocks for some reason. I was actually on my way to my normal gun store, and I actually was looking for the Glock 43X and the Glock 48, wanting to see what they look like. And they did have 2 that were on I guess you could say, like a demo that you can look at and touch and feel, but there were so many people around it and they were taking orders. At the time, they had roughly about 20 orders. I walked around the case and that's how I spotted this firearm, and it kind of caught me off guard because I always knew that these were in the tan version, which was for the military trials that they had previous. And I knew there was going to be a black version, but I didn't know when it was going to come out because if you went on the 509 FN 509 website and you looked at FN's website, they had videos of this particular firearm in black, and I'm like, I'm wondering when they're coming out with that, and they were actually marketing this towards law enforcement like they did with the Glock 45, marketing it to law enforcement. And I saw the videos and so forth and tactical units with this firearm, but that was during the time I would say the Glock 19X was being advertised as well, but I haven't seen one until I walked into the store today. And actually, the only other video that I saw of this in black, the first video, I believe it's the only video. The guy, I forget his name is Aaron by Sage Dynamics. You really need to check out his site. He is in law enforcement, but he does some great training videos, and he also gives a lot of information. And he shoots this firearm very well, a heck of a lot better than I would. And he does, and his videos with the optic, as you see, I don't have the optic on right now. Let me give you the usual boring stats. It's obviously in 9mm. They consider this particular firearm, the Glock, a double action firearm, as opposed to, let's say, the VP9 or the PPQ, which they consider more like a single action, because on those 2 firearms, the cocker is already it's already strike back like in a single action mode, like whether it's similar to like a 1911. So the striker is already cocked back. This has to go through the stages like a Glock, as when you pull the trigger, it pulls back, disengages safety mechanisms, and then it pulls back, and then there's a break, and then the striker goes forward. It has a capacity of 117, 18 round mag. Let me get that straight. 18 round mag. Oh, I was right the first time. 17 round mag. My eyesights are failing me. And 224 round magazines. Overall length is 7.9 inches. The height is 5.75 inches in height. It is 27.9 ounces with a trigger pull, which is stated on the website, of 5.5 to 7.5 pounds. I don't have a gauge, but most people are averaging out anywhere between 5.5 and 6 pounds. That's from looking at other videos from what I've seen. I will have to get a Lyman gauge one day. The sight radius, I believe, is somewhere at 7. I believe it's a correction, 5.79 inches. And the barrel length is at 4.5 inches. I think I had that sight radius wrong, because you can't have a barrel length of 4.5 with a threaded barrel and all of a sudden it's 5.79 inches. So I have to recheck that. Also, the other features on here, there are suppressor height sights. So as you see, there is a threaded barrel on here. Just in case you have a suppressor. I'm not one to have a suppressor. I don't have a need for it. And the height, the front blade, as you can see, is definitely a suppressor height, as well as the rear sights. You can see it's serrated in the back to block some glare, and these sights are in the front and back are night sights, and they're very good night sights. If you notice here on the plate here, this plate comes off, and the plate allows you to put in MMR or any other options for a optic that you would want on here. A lot of people make fun of these ears right here. They call them ears or wings or whatever you want to call it. But this is looks like it has a two-fold use. I've watched people on videos use this, as it is kind of serrated here, where you can use it off of a table or off of a wall, bench, whatever, and you can rack the slide with that. And of course, it also adds protection to your sight, so you don't have to bang the sights up. A lot of people thought this was very weird, but actually the old Smith & Wessons, the 4006, and more notably the 5906, used to have these on their firearms. As you see here, it is ambidextrous, not totally, but it's ambidextrous, with the slide release on both sides right here, as well as the mag release on both sides. Now, I was a little leery about if I gripped it. I'll use an example here. If I grip here, that maybe my grip would pretty much depress the magazine on with this hand, and actually it does not interfere at all. So, and I've been shooting my HK VP9 a lot, so I've been using my front finger, my pointing finger, to let out the magazine, or you could do it the regular way with using your thumb. So that's pretty good. The reason why I say it's not totally ambidextrous is because your takedown lever is on your left side of this firearm. The grip panels and the stippling here is really good. I like this portion of the stippling because it gives you another place to have a decent grip. There's no stippling up front because some people like to hold their firearms in this fashion, but at least there is something where you can grip, whether you're using your thumb in that area or whether your part of your uh, pointing finger is over in that end. So that's a good plus for that right there. Uh, you get two back straps. It comes automatically with the curved back strap that's already installed. I prefer the curve. It does come with a straight back strap. I am a 1911 fan, but on polymer pistols, I prefer a curved back strap on this. It does have a 1913 Picatinny rail at the bottom here, so you can put lights or lasers if you want to do that. Of course, you see uh, your threaded barrel, which you could put your compensator on there, or if you want to use a suppressor. I will try to get a compensator put on here. I did have a problem. I've been searching for a compensator for this particular firearms, and two companies came up. And I'm not going to mention the companies as of yet because the one company, when I went to their website to order, they had a problem with one of their compensators, and that compensator, the company that distributes, has issued a recall on those compensators. So I'm not mentioning that company. I don't want to, spread any bad rumors or whatnot, but there is a recall on one of the compensators. So that was one of the compensators I wanted to get. And another company has stopped production for the compensator. But they said it's a temporary stop, and I think it's a temporary stop for both of those companies. So once things get cleared, I will look into the compensators on for this threaded area. What I like about this pistol the most is where you could put the optic, and what I like about where the optic goes, you do not have to use any type of let's say Loctite or anything like that. It does have have washers, and so forth. One thing great about about FM when they do this, I think they're the one company that's the most complete when it comes to putting optics on. Sorry, Glock. I mean, you started with the MOS system, with modular optic system. It works great, but the problem I have is sometimes you have to get adapter plates or whatnot that you included some, but you didn't have certain fixes. But the FN gives you all the tools that you need, extra O-rings, plate adapters, and the actual plate that will work with it, which is these plates are made out of a polymer. You can use anything from a Vortex Venom, which I'm going to put that on here. Also RMRs, Delta Pros. You can use a variety of optics on here, and that's one of the best features about this. It's great right out of the box. Uh, and there's also an O-ring on this uh, threaded barrel. The O-ring allows you to uh, tighten up a suppressor. I'm not familiar with suppressors, but it's supposed to enable you to tighten up the suppressor without using any type of thread lock or anything like that. And a lot of times, like if you have a regular, this is my second firearm with that has a threaded barrel, and sometimes when you're at the range firing, these thread protectors get worked their way off, and that uh, O-ring helps keep it on, and that's what that O-ring did. This has no movement at all. Another thing, it's very easy to break down. I'm pretty sure you've seen these a million times. You do have to pull the trigger, I believe, to get this off. Uh, this particular spring here, I think a lot of the firearms companies, they're using uh, tougher, tighter springs, higher pound springs, and usually 124 grains are very good for that. But when you have like a 115 grain, you're going to need a lighter spring. Like it took me a while to break in my HKVP9, and I wind up having to order another spring from hkparts.net. So if I use range ammo, because the range 115 grain is cheaper to use as range ammo, I swap it in and out. It hasn't been the case so much with this one, but this spring here, they recommend if you're using a suppressor or a comp on here to replace it with the second spring. And this is another thing that's good about FN. They give you a second spring here, so you will be able to use it for lower pressure loads or be able to use with a suppressor or a compensator. And a lot of the compensator companies say, hey, use the second spring that FN gives you. So it's good that those suppressor companies or compensator companies are aware that FN is doing this. So this is a good deal that FN does with their firearms. I'm not taking this all the way down. I just wanted just to show you the internals. But the first time I ever seen a captive dual spring like this was on a Glock, and it was on my Glock 30, Glock 27. And I like the way this setup is because it really helps with recoil and to administer that recoil of the slide. And this is your regular internals, nothing new there. It's pretty, it is dirty because I just came back from the range from there, and this is the original lube. So when I picked up the firearm at the store, when I was looking at the 43Xs and 48, I just picked this up and just decided to shoot it right away as soon as I got it. Just briefly, and these are the instructions. They're very detailed for if you want to install your RMR or other optic. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to show you that. And moving right along, what I've also noticed, and this is pretty interesting. It's funny that I mentioned the 43X and the 48. If you notice really close on this, they share something very similar. Is the area here on the barrel and where the lockup is. And I don't know if you can see it, there's a little line right here, and it's a slope. It's a I don't know if you can tell, the camera's picking it up. There is a slope right here, because normal on the older Glocks or other pistols, this section here is just straight. It just goes straight here for on the lockup. And I think the reason why some manufacturers are doing this slope right here is under recoil, it enables the slide to come back over the, I guess you would call that where the barrel hood is. I forget the terminology, but it enables the slide to come back smoother as it goes back, because on a Browning design, that the barrel is going to tilt down a bit and then it locks, the slide comes back or locks back. Well, I think what this design is, it makes it that much easier. And I noticed that on like I said, the 43X and also on the 48. And now I notice it on this. Another thing that kind of like threw me a little bit, I thought there was a crack in this firearm, but actually it's a mill line, and the line right here goes right here on the frame, on the extractor, up here and through where the plate area is. And I've looked at other the FDE versions, and it's pretty much the same. So I thought it was a crack, but I thought it was interesting that they brought that detailing in all the way through. So going through this, I think I went through a lot of this already. I know a lot of you have already seen the FN 509. The only difference is the color is just black, and I just jumped on it because a lot of people might want a different color or than the FDE. Some people like FDE, some people don't. Some people like traditional black. So with that, I'm going to try to show you the targets that I used today. on shooting this firearm. And the funny thing is, when I usually show my targets, I'm being very honest about my targets. Usually what I try to do is try to get a better, I try to get a feel for the firearm itself. So the first thing I do is try to aim across. A lot of firearms, Justin Opinion does a 6 o'clock hole first, and then does a then raises up or make adjustments. I pretty much try to split, and sometimes if I do, I might shoot too low. Now, all of these shots here, these are really horrible shots. This was me trying to figure out my grip or my sight alignment, and this was just basically horrible until I got a better grip and figured out how or where I wanted to fire at. Improvement, but not like I wanted. So this is roughly about 7 yards, and I tend to, like I said, put the sight above here. Now I have a problem. I should know that combat sights are supposed to cover over the black on that front sight. Unfortunately, I had it here, and this is why you got these low shots over here, and then I had to make adjustments. Now on the second target, it's a little better. Let me see if I can find that target. And this time I really pushed it out. I pushed the target out roughly to 15 yards. And what I like to do, what I consider a good when I'm shooting, I want to get in the within the 8 ring or 9 ring. Obviously, I didn't do that, but it's giving me a gauge on what I want to do. Sending that target out to 15 on a 4-inch barrel. Again, I shot low again. I had to readjust and got in here. I like tighter groups, but yeah, this shooter here, you have your good days, you have your bad days. I know people that can take this firearm and they can just puncture this whole red out. But I'm better on certain firearms at certain times, and other firearms I'm bad at certain times. So this was, I call so-called average. But with that said, were there any malfunctions? The one malfunction I had was me. I had my hands like this, and unfortunately, I actuated the slide stop. So I had to hold the firearm with my thumb like this because of the way my hand size is. Because if I leave my hand like that, I'm going to actuate the slide. And that's the same way with the VP9. I have to keep my thumbs up like that. Same thing with the G45. I have to keep my thumbs up like in that position. And one other last thing, a lot of people were complaining about the G45. Well, this fits the same profile as the G45. And if you actually look, here is the G45, and it pretty much is the same silhouette. Pretty much the same silhouette. The FN509 is going to have a higher borax a little bit, and of course the heights, the sights are a little higher. The only difference is I think it might be just capacity, and that's nothing. You can add what you want. But I will say this is a very good shooter. Like I said, it was a bad day for me. But however, go to Sage Dynamics YouTube channel and watch the review on this. He shoots this thing like a champ. He also has an RMR, and he uses a Delta Pro, and you'll see him slam that Delta Pro on barriers, etc. And he really does a really good job with this firearm. That's all I have for now. So happy shooting, folks, and just have fun shooting out there. #2A.